Welcome, everyone, to our weekly Course in Miracles study group. This is Corinne. I'm so happy you all are here. Let's join together in that quiet space within. So whatever you're doing, just pausing for the next few moments. Beginning by just sensing your breath. And turning attention within to your sense of willingness. Willingness to see differently. Willingness to not know. And willingness to let Holy Spirit be our guide. This holy instant we give to you. Be you in charge, for we would follow you, certain that your direction gives us peace. If we need a word, a thought, or a tranquil open mind, these are the gifts that the Holy Spirit gives. And we place the Holy Spirit in charge by our request. And with that love in your heart and light in your mind, coming together to our perception of right here, right now. I've been on the go all day, so that was just lovely.
Yeah, don't ever change that, Corinne, the way you start the call. Don't ever change that.
We need it, right? Because we tend to be very engaged in the world throughout the day, and so just, what was that, a minute maybe? That was not very long, just that little bit of time, just pausing in an instant. A shift can happen. So it is really important. Not to worry. We'll always begin with a pause. Thank you.
And I have to say, if anybody wants to have that pause during the week, Corinne's CD is excellent, the mindfulness CD, so I use it sometimes.
Oh, Paul, thank you. Thank you so much.
Just had to say it.
Thank you. I'm in the process of birthing more in the, you all know that I've been working on a book for a while, and it has a corresponding meditation CD that I'll be working on as well, so there's more coming.
Now wait, how did Paul get the CD?
It's on Amazon, or cdbaby.com is the main place where you can get a digital download of it too. So CD Baby also sells it on Amazon. So if you just go to Amazon and search for my name, it'll pop up. It's a series of 5-minute mindfulness meditations.
I'll echo that too. It's awesome CD. I use it too.
Oh, thank you, Deidre.
Wonderful.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So let's dive into the course. So we are on page 380 in the Sparkle Edition. Sparkle Edition, page 380, the Magnitude of Holiness. Course in Miracles Society, the original edition, it's chapter 16, part 3. And in the FIP edition, it's chapter 16, part 2. It's called The Power of Holiness. And I will prompt us because after we read the 4th paragraph of this section, there's a paragraph that appears in the Sparkle edition and the original edition that was edited out of FIP. So I'll just remind us when we get there. So let's dive in. You still think holiness is difficult because you cannot see how it can be extended to include everyone. And you have learned that it must include everyone to be holy. Concern yourselves not with the extension of holiness, for the nature of miracles you do not understand, nor do you do them. It is their extension, far beyond the limits you perceive, that demonstrates you did not do them. Why should you worry how the miracle extends to all the sonship when you do not understand the miracle itself? One attribute is no more difficult to understand than the whole. If miracles are at all, their attributes would have to be miraculous, being part of them. So this paragraph speaks to me, to that reminder that we don't have to understand this to get it. We don't have to understand, what miracles are, how to do them, what anything is. We just have to have willingness. We just have to have that willingness to be open, to be shown the truth about ourselves, the love that we all are. And I like how it opens up with saying, you still think holiness is difficult because you cannot see how it can be extended to include everyone. And yet you have learned that it must include everyone to be holy. So there's a little prompt too, that when we notice those tiny judgmental thoughts or those tiny fear thoughts or those thoughts of separation, that whoever it is, the other. They are somehow separate from me and different. It's an opportunity to bring that judgment to the Holy Spirit because, again, we don't have to self-correct it ourselves. We're bringing it to Spirit within and asking to be given the truth instead. And so by letting go of, by dropping into the moment and having no judgment, that's where we experience these holy instants. I love how it says you've learned that it must include everyone to be holy. So there's no one excluded from holiness. And it's just about being willing to see that.
Well, that what comes up very challenging at times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But Paula, you've expressed so many stories, so many times when, So even though it can seem challenging, all it takes is willingness. It's actually quite
and it's
simple.
Ongoing. It's just ongoing. It's that willingness is ongoing. It's not always, it's not always there. It seems like I have to kind of process through a little agony at times to get to it, to get to the willingness. It's like, what am I doing? Okay.
Yeah. That's where, we forget, again, what makes us happy. That's like, how we say all the time, do you prefer that you be right or happy? And we lapse into wanting to be right. And then, oh, wait, right, this doesn't make me happy. Let's be happy instead. It's like, has anybody heard that poem? I have my folder right here. Let me just see if I can find it, because I use it sometimes in the mindfulness classes that I teach. It's an autobiography in 5 short chapters, and I don't have it. It's, I walk down the street, I fall in the hole.
Oh, yeah.
Why is it their fault? I walk down the street, I fall in the hole. Oh, maybe it's my fault. I walk down the street, I walk around the hole, like finally I walk down the different street. Like we have to keep learning, keep falling into that hole. Yep, over and over before the little the light bulb goes off, and it's like, oh. Oh. Anything else coming up for anybody in this paragraph so far?
I don't know if it's just my sense of humor or what, but I just find the line where it says, why should you worry about how the miracle extends to all the sonship when you don't understand the miracle itself? I think that's so funny because, I was talking to someone earlier today about something that came up, and it was kind of one of those things that needed to be addressed. I kept handing it over, and it just wasn't handing over. And so I decided to have a discussion with the other party involved, and that's what ultimately, we were able to come to peace with the whole situation. But in the course of the conversation, we both sort of were talking, and it was like, we don't know why this thing keeps happening and why, we're choosing to lose our peace over it, but it's not our job to figure out the why. The figuring out the why is actually staying in the story of the whole.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so it was just really funny for me to read that section. read them.
I love it that we can see the humor in this because it is we get called out. Of course, the Miracles calls us out constantly.
Yeah.
But I love how you said that, Deidre, because that's so true. And that's how also the Course teaches that you don't have to follow fear through all of its circuitous routes. That as long as we just keep having that willingness, to learn, to undo these false perceptions in our mind, that truth is already there. We don't have to, figure it out and, like you said, stay stuck in the story. A lot can happen in that moment of a miracle. Beautiful.
Yeah, and it's funny when you're a baby, I don't know if you can remember back that far, the world or like the sky could seem like a miracle. I mean, just trying to learn about life and have the experience, whether or not, the dream and everything else, I understand that part. But just the perception, and I hate to say this, but as we get older, do I have to fill in the rest? I mean, you know what I mean? Like life can become like not so miracle-oriented. So you need like a wake-up call. You need this. You need us.
Yeah. And, those wake-up calls for a lot of people end up being for me, it was anxiety. We've all, something brought us to this point to look for a better way because we saw in whatever way the futility of the world, recognizing that, nothing here can ultimately make me happy because it seems like I have everything, that you could maybe want in life, and yet I'm still not happy. Maybe that's how it happened. But yep. It's ultimately we come to wanting to find a better way, and so some of us are called for this path.
So the willingness is like the key.
Absolutely.
So I've got part of it.
You have willingness. You have willingness, Brian. You have, and that's the beauty is that our willingness need not. The Course says your willingness need not be perfect because His is complete. So that's where our willingness can be literally the size of a mustard seed. It can be that teeny tiny speck of willingness, and the Course is saying that that's all that you need for miracles to happen. Once you have gone into that place of willingness, then our success is guaranteed. Our problem is these beliefs that we continue to hang on to in our mind that we're separate from our source. So it's about learning how to really trust to look past the picture and the things that show up in our lives that try to convince us of the reality, of the world, that we are these limited bodies and these separate selves. So the healing is done already. And the times that I just can drop into that and recognize, wait a second, I don't have to struggle. This is done already. That's, those are those moments of it's like a breath of fresh air. It's like, oh, right. I forgot again.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Carol. I just want to share something with what Brian was saying. Today I was with 3 young children and, seeing through their eyes, so to speak, we went to a program at a local park called Potions, magic potions. And it was so cool because the instructor said, what kind of a word can we use, like abracadabra or something? And this one little boy, he's a 5-year-old twin, he said feet. And it's just that was his magic word, feet. And then yesterday I was with an 88-year-old woman who has Alzheimer's, and we were sitting in her kitchen, actually her daughter's kitchen, and there's 2 big windows in the kitchen looking out into the blue sky. And it was just a beautiful visual of, everything's open, and I was able to point out to her the blue sky. And I don't know, it was just the different perspectives of things. And
how, she's in the house the majority of the time, and I had the boys out today, so I got a flavor of both sides, like you were talking, Brian, about, when you're a child and you see things, and then when you're older and you see things. But it's, I feel like it's my purpose right now to be there and point these things out. And actually these kids give me gifts with, things, and the senior citizens give me gifts. But it's really helping me to live from a different perspective.
That's beautiful. And Carol and Brian, you both brought this up about, children seeing things and just this idea of, noticing things. That's where, for me, the practice of mindfulness has been so helpful. Specifically, it's really helped with my study of the Course, because the Course calls for extreme mindfulness. It's asking us to look at our own minds and to pay attention to what's there and remember, to turn to Spirit within, to give our perceptions to Spirit, asking for the miracle instead. And that requires a lot of mindfulness, because we need that awareness to know when it is that we're drifting off into judgment or fear or, whatever that may be. So mindfulness has been super helpful for me. And with that, I can't help now but notice beauty in the asphalt on the road. Like, they're little tiny rocks in the asphalt, and they're actually quite beautiful if you look really closely. So, just as one example, it's really helped me with just really appreciating, the small things that we did notice when we were children, because there was that sense of wonder and, amazement. That's something that we can have back any moment, that we just slow down and really pause to appreciate what's in front of us right now.
Yesterday I had an experience. My daughter and I were walking downtown in Ocean Grove, and a woman had a little Burmese mountain dog puppy. I'm telling you, the cuteness was beyond anything I've ever experienced in my life. I was like, oh my God! It was. I can't put words to it. It was the most wonderful experience, the most wonderful, lighthearted experience. My daughter did get a picture of him. I'm going to make sure I get it. You want to get happy. Oh.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It really was awesome. And every time I start to, get screwed up again, I start thinking about that puppy. It was really, really quite something.
That's awesome.
You should get one.
I was going to say, that's how I feel about my chickens.
Oh, the chickens! Oh. Definitely the chickens.
But a little puppy has a furry, cute factor that the feather babies just do not. So.
This was beyond
in their own way,
cute. This was really out there cute. I've never seen anything like it.
You should get one. Get one.
You'll have to share your picture with us, Paula, if there's a way.
Oh, I will.
Let's read another paragraph before this turns into one of the nights where we are 45 minutes into the call and have only read one paragraph. Okay. There is a tendency to fragment and then to be concerned about the truth of just a little part of the whole. And this is but a way of avoiding or looking away from the whole to what you think you might be better able to understand. For this is but another way in which you would still try to keep understanding to yourself. A better and far more helpful way to think of miracles is this. You do not understand them, either in part or whole. Yet you have done them. Therefore, your understanding cannot be necessary. yet it is still impossible to accomplish what you do not understand. And so there must be something in you that does understand.
Oh, I love that.
And that is the Holy Spirit. That is whatever you want to call it. Inner guide, inner teacher, inner voice, intuition, whatever word it is that you're comfortable with. It's the part of our own mind that hasn't forgotten the truth of what we are. And so I'm emphasizing that to make really clear that, again, Holy Spirit, whatever we call it, is not something outside of ourselves. It's literally our right mind. It's literally the part of our own mind that has not forgotten truth. So that part of our mind understands miracles, knows miracles. We're out of touch with that part of the mind because we've chosen to listen to the ego's voice instead. And so that goes back to the beginning of this paragraph where it says there's a tendency to fragment and then to be concerned about the truth of just a little part of the whole. And this is but a way of avoiding or looking away from the whole to what you think you might be better able to understand. So this is what we do in this world, is that we've fragmented from our source, which is love and truth, into what we believe are these separate identities, these separate bodies, and we're obsessed with them. Like, what am I going to eat for dinner? Am I going to be safe? Am I going to have enough money? There's this problem that I have, and it's the I. It's the me, the I identity of this small self that we then become identified with, and it's that small self that is not our truth. So on this pathway of the Course, as we turn within, being willing to, let miracles replace our faulty perceptions, we come to know again who it is that we truly are, bit by bit, as those false beliefs fall away, as we're ready to let them go. Hooray. This is just really comforting to me that, it's saying so clearly, understanding cannot be necessary, but you do have to understand, so there is something in us that does understand. And so that's just so comforting to me to hear again, that there's that part of our own mind that knows, that remembers.
But when you say we've done miracles, is that the willingness? Is that the willingness?
Yeah.
Because we really can't.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's the willingness.
We're not
through our willingness, the miracle is done.
Yes. Perfect.
I mean, how many times have we experienced that?
Exactly. And that's the better way of saying it. We've experienced miracles. We don't do them of ourselves. It's spirit that's outside of our limited realm of perception. It's almost like, in my book, I write about it, I call it thought swapping. Like, take this thought, give me back the truth instead. So we swap it out with spirit, which is outside of our limited thought system. So you're absolutely right, Paula.
I can't think of anything specifically, but I know at work, numerous times I've been in situations that are just awful, really awful, and I've mentally made that shift. I'm not judging it. I don't know what this is. And within seconds, I mean, right before my eyes, it changes. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. And I'm just blown away by it when it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's why for me when the Course talks about a miracle being a shift in perception, that's what's so helpful, because it's not that you're doing something, it's that you're allowing the shift to occur.
It's
really being done through us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In Him, through Him.
It's allowing into our awareness what already is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because truth already, that healing, that, nothing has changed in truth. Truth is still true, and that healing has already happened. So it's just that we're letting it back into our awareness.
It's like Lisa Natoli said something once, and it really stuck with me, because it's when we're in the thought process that God or Holy Spirit or intuition or whatever word you use for love or spirit is something outside of you, you then have a belief that, whatever that presence is can leave you, but really it's the opposite. Like, it's the belief or the feeding the other belief system that's stepping further away from the truth without realizing that's what's happening. It's like it's a choice to come back into alignment or whatever, however you want to phrase that. But God doesn't leave us. It's us that have the investment in this identity, and we're feeding that identity with beliefs and thoughts and whatever it might be. But it just takes the willingness to come back to the awareness of love's presence or the truth.
Mm-hmm. Because there really is nothing out there. I mean, everything out there is just a reflection of what's going on inside of our minds. So it's that ability to not believe this thing that seems to be happening out there.
Right.
And I think Abraham says something like, everything is already 99.9999% done. It's this illusion that we get caught up in that makes it seem like it's not already done. That love is there, it exists, it's present, it's eternal, it's forever, it's always with us.
That 99.99%, so the 0.01% that's left, is the tiny mad idea, which is what we
tiny mad idea.
That's the tiny mad idea. And Deidre, when you were talking and sharing, that was super helpful. That idea too, that God didn't leave us; that we're the ones that turned away. You just reminded me of another part that I wrote about in my book. I love Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny, Jeff Young. I grew up, watching Looney Tunes, and there was one cartoon where it's a child and he's going, I want an Easter egg, I want an Easter egg. Is this ringing a bell for anybody? He's like flipping out because he wants an Easter egg. Like, I want an Easter egg. And I just got this, it's a part of the book where I use this as an example to sort of describe how, we, again, like you said, Deidre, God didn't leave us. We're the ones that turned away and have now become fixated on these little Easter eggs, like these little, separate identities that we have that we want. So you just reminded me of that when you said that.
Thank you.
So
Let's
Paula,
read the next.
I'm sorry.
Brian.
This is Brian. I just wanted to ask Paula real quick. What is the mental exercise when you confront something and you're going to need spirit to deal with it? What is the exercise in your mind that you feel?
Help!
Help!
Help! That's what it is.
That's what Bill Thetford did too.
That's exactly what it is. It's as simple as that. Help me.
Really? It's
and
like
then
it's like
quiet.
The willingness too, right?
Yeah, really. And it really is as simple as that.
Beautiful.
But I think the blank, I kind of become blank after that. It's like it's the awareness of, so you can see it, so you can experience the shift,
Yeah.
But, this is Angela. I have to add something because I really feel like, I know, Corinne, you've said this, is that you cannot do it. I cannot force it to happen. There's no way. So I think so many times I'll be in the middle of my work day and I'm going, and I think I get outside work and I think, was I thinking about spirit? Was I thinking about Course in Miracles? I was frantically doing what I was doing, and I didn't think about it at all. I guess it takes what it takes in terms of it can be a quick process or a really slow process. But, I was laying in bed this morning, and I was just laying there and thinking, and I have a really hard time being present in the moment. And what was going through my mind is I was not present at that moment. I was thinking ahead to the day ahead. I was thinking about yesterday, and I literally found myself saying, okay, that's, I don't know what I said, but noticing was the very first thing to say, okay, wait, what's going on? No wonder there's no peace. But this goes on all day long. That's how it feels. So for me to say, okay, just to notice, to begin to notice, we talk about the miracle, and this is very good, because especially when rage comes up, and I had that come up this past, I would say a couple of days ago, and I don't know what to do, and I don't see the willingness, and I know what to do. I mean, I know, but I'm not doing it. I say, okay, if I cannot turn it over, then I can share it with the Holy Spirit, but I want something to change. I'm not feeling, I'm feeling that I want that feeling to pass. And
one thing I think that's really important every day, and it's kind of what I'm going to liken it to what you're talking about with mindfulness, Corinne, is I walk at the beach, for an hour every day. I do 3 miles. If I wasn't doing that, there's something about that calms me down, and it helps me throughout the day to kind of get in that place when I start to get really emotional, and disturbed about something. There's something about that. Without that, I don't know. Because when I go down there and I do that walk, it's like I leave anything that's bothering me when I start. By the time I'm finished, I don't even remember it. I don't even know what it was.
Thank you.
So I think we need to do things, even if it's
sometimes
maybe a 15-minute meditation
really
or...
Right.
Anything, sometimes when we're, stuck in whatever it is that's happening, this is going to vary from person to person in terms of what works, but I found for me, changing my scenery, doing something different can be really helpful. So with Paul's example, going for a beach walk or jumping on my trampoline or, just doing something to interrupt the continual flow of just being, stuck in the future or the past. Doing something physical can be helpful, and because we have to be where we're at. If we're having that willingness or not, and we're aware of it, like we can't force anything. We have to be where we're at. So seeing, if there is something perhaps that you can do to, interrupt that and to give yourself a breather, that's really what it is. Because actually, Angela, I wanted to ask you, when you were saying how you were reflecting and asking yourself, was I thinking about spirit at all throughout the day?
Right.
I'm assuming your answer was no.
Yes.
And how did you feel about that?
So I could get down on myself, and I think at times I do, and or just that kind of like that idea of, I don't even have to use many words to say, if I'm studying in the course, I'm not doing it well enough. I mean, anybody could answer that question if you know what I mean, because it's all the same, right? So it doesn't, and then when I think that way, it doesn't make me feel better.
Right. And that's because that's the ego telling you that. The ego is always going to be that self-judgmental voice. It's going to say that you are not doing a good job with the course, you're not thinking about spirit, and you should be. It's always going to tell you, that we're doing a crappy job here. It's going to pull out anything that it can that it thinks that you'll listen to. So it's important what you said, the noticing. That's a great, it's wonderful that you recognize that your mind was totally in the future and totally in the past. That's that awareness. That's that noticing. And so if we can notice when we lapse into self-judgment, that if there's reminders or something, that you can place to yourself that, self-judgment or whatever, however you want to word it, is the ego's voice, that, like you said then, you can maybe just say, if you're willing, all right, I'm going to share this with the Holy Spirit. I'm going to share this with Spirit. So the more we beat down on ourselves for not doing it right, that's just listening to the ego again. And there's no guilt there. That's another, because then we can feel guilty. Well, gosh, now I'm listening to the ego, so I'm going to feel guilty about that. That's more ego. That's the ego laying on top of the ego on top of the ego. So we can't fix it ourselves. We can't get out of it alone. All we have to do, like you said, is just be willing to share it with Spirit, with wanting that different way. And if there is something that you can do to change your setting, to go for a walk, that could be really helpful. It's again going to vary from person to person to see what works.
Thank you.
It can also be as simple as petting your cat.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I sit with Ethel sometimes for half an hour, and just she gets furious if I move, so I have to sit there.
That's so true.
Anything to calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Did that help, Angela?
It did. Here's the thing. When like, I forget the person you asked Paula, so what do you do when, whatever happens? And Paula said, I say help, and, so it's very concrete. It only takes a second, but, it's to the point sometimes I have to get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that is just like, I say, I've had enough. I just, no more. And that's a good thing, because at that point, there's a shift. So it doesn't always happen, but, like, it's just really weird. I even though I know sometimes I feel like 2 steps forward and 1 step back or whatever, there's glimpses of things that go on. And sometimes I fall for it, and other times I'm like, no, I don't think so. I'm not falling for this. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. And one thing that I want to offer to everybody, because this has been so helpful for me this week, this is something that Nook Sanchez said, if we can be in appreciation for whatever comes up, it's coming up because it's an opportunity to bring it to Spirit. So we can feel grateful that we're being shown how I still believe in Corinne. I can be grateful how I am being shown that I still want specialness, or I can be grateful, that I'm being shown that I still think I'm a body. Whatever, it is that's coming up, can we be grateful that it's coming up because, we're being shown how we're still believing that we separated from Source.
That's very
that was
good.
really big for me this week. Mm-hmm. That was really big for me this week.
Me too, Corinne. You're speaking to the choir, because the little frustration I talked about earlier, it was like I'm not at the point in my practice now that I've been doing this for quite a while, that I consider myself to be quite diligent. But something happened this week that was just like really pressing my buttons, and the fact that it was pressing my buttons was really pissing me off. Like, I was quite angry with myself, and I just had to get to the point. I had to sit in meditation with my little meditation timer, and give myself, like Paula was saying earlier, a 20-minute timeout, and just like really focus on what it is that this experience was bringing up for me to learn from. And what I came out of that with is that the purpose of all these buttons being pressed, because really nothing's happening, but I believe that it is. And as long as I believe that it is, I can use the experience to become more centered in love and a stronger example of the light. So if I am able to stay centered and just allow myself to experience whatever's coming up, take it to spirit, and then not use whatever's coming up against anybody, including myself, I'm strengthening my ability to teach, or whatever word you want to use, or be the example, be the light. So that's what I came away from that with.
Now, what did you do? Did you take time to determine what it was that was bothering you? Is that what you...
No, I didn't. Initially I tried to do that, and that just made me more upset, because I was trying to figure out what the problem was so I could fix it.
Right.
And what I came away from that is that I don't need to fix anything.
Right. I kind of had an experience this week too, and I was so angry because the minute I got out of the car in the morning when I get to work, a fellow stands outside of his car smoking a cigarette. Came out at the end of the day, he's smoking a cigarette, and I'm walking through this smoke, and I can't stand it. And this was going on a lot, and I thought to myself, I was a smoker at one time. Why am I responding like this? Why is this making... And what I realized is I felt like I was being victimized. And I am not a victim of the world I see. It's one of the workbook lessons. And I'm telling you, every time my mind would go to the anger about feeling victimized, I'd replace that with, I am not a victim of the world I see. I can't tell you how lighthearted I've become. And I'm not kidding. Every time, if it happens again, that's where I'm going with my mind. Mm-hmm. If I have to say it once, I'm going to say it 100,000 times. And the more I say it, the better I feel. And it's not about him, and it's not about the cigarette. You know?
No. It's good. And when I really got quiet about it, it's not the situation at all, or the factors involved. It was the fact I was angry that I allowed myself to invest in the idea that this could upset my peace.
Yes.
That's really
the bottom line. It's uncovering that. I think that's so powerful when you really uncover it. We're never upset for the reason we think.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm. Never.
Really, on a conscious level, I did not realize how victimized I actually felt by that situation. And once I realized it,
you realized that. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share about what you shared about the man with the cigarette. When you're in that space, when you're feeling really triggered by the outward situation, that's when you really don't want to, at least for me, I found, that's when it can be challenging to go, that's my brother, that's me right there. That's because you just want to be like, oh no, it's you. I'm pissed off at you. You need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
And, that'll fix my peace, but it's always an inside job. And that's where the work of the Course is. That's where the work of the Course is. It's not anything being fixed on the outside.
DJ, you just reminded me of that expression, if you're pointing one finger at somebody, there's three fingers pointing back at you, like your middle ring and pinky finger, when you're making that point. So, yeah. Our sole responsibility is to accept that undoing in our own minds.
The thing is I guess I have to bring it not back to form, because if I bring that, what was just said, back to form, I get hooked again, and that's what I was thinking about. That's what we're talking about tonight, is when we get hooked. And what do we do when we get hooked? Right? Maybe just noticing, and I'm hooked again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the Course is teaching us how to deny our denial of truth. The body's eyes are the ego's witness to the separation. It's what the ego uses to, this part of our mind that's, let's make it, I'm going to bring this back to us rather than saying the ego as if it's something outside, because it's not. The body's eyes are our chosen means to see things that are separate and to call, to pick up the witnesses that this part of our mind that wants separation, is projecting that out, and then that's what we're seeing back. And so we're being asked to look past appearances with the Holy Spirit. Again, we can't do this ourselves. We can't say, it's just not real, I'm just going to look past it. And, we can't do that by ourselves. We can do that with Spirit by saying, I'm willing to look past this appearance. That's where, again, I go back to that prayer in the Course, take this from me and look upon it, judging it for me. So if we're looking to the appearance, again, it's like that with that Looney Tunes example that I used before, it's like, turning our attention away from the whole and then zeroing in on this one little thing, this one little part that seems to be separate from the whole. So this is prompting us to learn to not look to the body's eyes for truth, but instead turn within to let the Holy Spirit's vision come forth. And that's when, that's what this is all about, is that different vision. So a person requested that I address this question on the call, and the question is about magic. Just like we believe that magic or something outside of us can help us, like believing that pills or vitamins can be helpful to the body, does the reverse hold true, believing that magic can hurt us? For instance, this person gave the example, I'll walk away. If I see somebody smoking on the street, I might even walk down the middle of the road to avoid it. Yes, definitely the reverse holds true. Just as we believe that certain things can help us, like magic, it is the same the other way, that there's a belief that certain things can hurt us, that you shouldn't eat all ice cream for eat ice cream every single day of the week, or you shouldn't eat whatever it may be every day, or your cholesterol will go up. These again are the laws of the world, and if they were true, they would be true all the time, and they're not true. There are people who are chain smokers who don't get cancer and live long lives. There are people who are always exceptions to the rules, and so if it was true, it would be true all the time. So you're absolutely right that that's another belief. Believing that something outside of us can hurt us is another belief to look at with Spirit, because those beliefs are affirming this idea that we are separate bodies that are vulnerable and can be subject to death. Can I share a specific example about cigarette smoke? This is so funny. So I am the worst with my nose because my husband and I joke around that I can smell down to like 2 parts per million. I have no idea. We're just kidding around. But if there's smoke in the air or a scent, I'm like, what is that? And so cigarette smoke, I identify, I will move out of the way, don't burn certain candles near me, like that kind of thing. Well, I was visiting with a very dear friend. This friend smokes because they love it. They just like smoking. And I hadn't seen this person in a long time, so I was really happy to be with them. And we were together, and they were like, "Oh, do you mind if we step outside for a cigarette?" And I didn't want to leave their side, so I'm like, "Sure, no problem." That cigarette smoke did not bother me at all. Oh. It did not bother me at all because, again, it's the belief. It's the belief. So there's a example of the level of mind where that smoke did not bother me. It may as well not even have been there because I just was oblivious to it. I just genuinely was in love and wanted to be with that individual.
Oh, love is the answer.
Oh.
Love is it. Mm-hmm. I don't happen to love this guy that was smoking that cigarette. I don't even like him.
But it's also, too, the belief. So take a different example for me. I love my husband, and I love being with my husband, but I'm not going to let him light a candle or put on really strong cologne around me. So it was really the belief. Rather than just, the love that I was feeling, which definitely, has a factor, it's more of the willingness to drop what I think I need, what I think is going to be good for me. It was the willingness to just drop that and just be, just be with that person. So it really is, about being willing to let go of our beliefs about ourselves. Well, this isn't one of those nights where we only read one paragraph. It was one of those nights where we only read two. So next week, maybe what I'll do is just reread the 2 paragraphs and then continue on, and we'll do more of the sections. So thank you, everybody, so much for being here and holding the space for each other. Big group hug.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.